Well, look at our lovely stealth spot to sleep tonight under this oak log. It's got nice soft grass for our air mattress. It's level ground. I don't see any sharp twigs. Well, today is the first day of my keto diet. It says that I weigh 101.4 kilos. So it's Tuesday, 101.4 kilos. Yesterday, before I'd slept, and you lose weight during the night, I was 101.9. Today I want to combine stealth camping with a ketogenic diet. So we have got breakfast lined up here. We're going to have we're going to slice some tomatoes and sort of make a poached egg on top of the sliced tomatoes. And then we just crack an egg on top of that. And that's going to be our breakfast for our keto. To keep the heat in, let's just put a plate on top. You know, it's totally pleasant, the diet. So it's very nice indeed. As I say, just lacks a bit of salt. So I had already lost half a kilogram or 1 pound just sleeping during the night for 8 to 10 hours. Isn't that exciting? That as long as you're sleeping, you're not eating, every breath you breathe out, you're breathing in oxygen, you're breathing out CO2. So you're breathing out carbon with the oxygen, which means you're losing weight. Every breath you breathe out. You on a ketosis diet or ketogenic diet, the weight just flies off. I'm hoping to lose in a few days on average just under 1 kilogram a day over about 4 or 5 days. Now for a lovely mid-morning snack of some grated cabbage and carrots. I've got some mustard and mayonnaise in this cup, which I'm going to add the cabbage to. Low in kilojoule snack. So there is a lovely ketogenic snack. Carrots are lovely and sweet. Didn't take long, and that'll keep us going till lunchtime. Totally delicious. For lunch we are going to have some onions, also a very low kilojoule vegetable, virtually no starch in it. And we're going to have some mushrooms, which are equally low in kilojoules. let me tell you, there's a secret to the ketogenic diet that I know you're not going to believe until you try it. And that is that it actually kills the hunger pangs. When you're in ketosis, which I don't think I am in completely, you just don't feel hungry. It's eating carbohydrates that makes a person hungry. So when you stop eating the sugars and starches, you find that your appetite is suppressed. And that's what makes this diet work where many other diets don't work. Of course, I just plan to do it for a short while. But look, this is a fair amount of food, and I don't know what the real ketogenic diets people do. I like a lot of vegetable matter, not so much the fat and the proteins. I just like a lot of having vegetables in the diet. So we got here, we've got some mushrooms. I'm going to cut them up a little bit. And I've got the onions. We're going to fry those all together. I've also got a clove of garlic, just to add a bit of flavor. And all in all, the whole day's kilojoules comes to under 2,000, which is quite low when you need 2,600 to sustain a grown man. So I'm going to eat a lot less than that. We throw in a little bit of oil, fry everything up. You can't go wrong frying things. I mean, look at all the fast food shops. They all fry stuff, and everyone knows that it's delicious. I've got this little gas stove, which is great, especially in South Africa where we have load shedding. But obviously for stealth camping, it's fantastic. And so that's all just going to fry up. I guess don't be stingy with the oil. One doesn't have to eat all the oil, but it just helps it all to fry up. Cover it. There we go. Look how nicely that's cooked up. That's actually almost 2 meals, so that'll last me the rest of the day till supper time. And the thing about the keto diet is you're allowed some oil or fat. It's got a bit of salt and pepper just to spice it up. And the oil and the fat also is very good at preventing hunger. So those onions are pretty delicious. Mushroom, likewise. Well, here is the road. Goes up and down. Here is where we branch off. There's a porcupine quill. We cut through the felt here. Here is a little bridge I built We cross that. Down this little ladder. And here under this oak, we are planning to sleep tonight. How lovely is this? Got our stove, spare jacket, pillows, tea, supper, ground sheet, sleeping bag, light mattress. Well, I think before it gets too late, let's get supper started. So, what have we got? We've got some mushrooms, a little bit of oil, glad we brought a spoon. We're going to just cook those mushrooms a bit. And then we're going to make a white sauce and turn it into a soup. So this is the supper time or end of our ketogenic diet day number 1. Let's see if we've lost any weight by tomorrow morning. So this is basically a fairly uncarbohydrate meal. It's got a little bit of starch in it. The thing about the ketogenic diet is I haven't felt hungry the whole day, because when you don't eat carbohydrates, it actually reduces your appetite. So I have not felt like I've been hungry at all today. I mean, you do miss, I think it's almost like habitual eating. Like I can eat a loaf of bread a day, but why am I eating it? I don't even really know the reason why I'm eating it. Maybe it's just force of habit. So this diet has got me thinking about why not just eat healthier, non-carbohydrate, non-fattening things. So let's just bring that a little bit closer. So dieting does get you thinking, which is, any change could be for the better. Now, I never feel guilty or inadequate. In fact, I'm writing a book, How to Never Feel Guilty or Inadequate. So it's not because I feel guilty or inadequate that I'm going on this ketogenic diet, it's because, frankly, my weight has always been around 102, 3, 4 kilograms. But as I get a bit older, as you keep even the same weight, begins to build up on one's stomach and you lose it elsewhere. So I think it'd be great if I could keep my weight under 100, say 99 kilograms. So let's say if we can lose 3 kilograms on our ketogenic diet in 3 or 4 days, fantastic, and then just maintain it there. So I must say it's been great having this change, just to think about, frankly, if I cut out bread, half the problem would be solved, I think. So, the Bible never encourages feelings, I believe, of guilt and inadequacy. It talks about repentance. Repentance means change. Now, if there's so much guilt and shaming around body image. I don't feel guilt or shame about being a little bit of a fatty. And I really don't think that people should. If you're happy and comfortable with the way you are, who are you trying to impress after all? So if you're feeling totally happy with it, why change? My feeling is just that I think I would just be better off at 99 kilograms, losing 3, especially on the stomach, because that's where I tend to put on weight. And to me, it's never about guilt and shame. Guilt and shame are emotions that at age 18, when I started leaving home, when I began to grow up, I felt I've got to get rid of guilt, shame, and worry. Those are all very close cousins of each other. And repentance just means change. So I've made a change. I'm on a ketogenic diet. But it's not a real ketogenic diet. As you've seen this diet, it's basically a high fiber diet. Fiber is in fact a form of carbohydrate. So I'm cutting out carbohydrates, but I'm increasing my non-soluble cellulose carbohydrate. So that's basically what it is. Getting lots of fiber, and fiber doesn't put on weight. Right, I think that's about great. So let's shake up our milk. We're going to make a nice mushroom soup. It's got a little bit of cheese, it's got salt, pepper, and it has got a tablespoon of flour, which is probably not the best for a ketogenic diet, but nothing is written in stone. I feel that I'm getting close to ketosis. Folks, if you haven't been experienced ketosis, you should. Just go for a day or two, and after 2 days of no carbohydrate, you'll find that your body's starting to eat fat. And you'll feel a little dizzy maybe, and a little brain fogged. Maybe you'll lack energy for a while, but you'll work your way through it. And boy, then is the body just burning fat, all that body fat. So get all the glucose and sugar out of your blood, and then the body goes into a mode of eating fat, body fat, and that's a really great mode to be in. And what is so beautiful, as I said, you won't believe it until you try it, is that you don't feel hungry on the ketogenic diet. I didn't feel hungry today. I felt, maybe I could have eaten a whole loaf of bread, but I never really thought about it. I just thought I would do it out of habit, because it's pleasant to just have something pleasant on bread. But there are other pleasures that you can substitute, and you can eat. Carrot. You saw my carrots. Grated carrot is lovely. Cabbage salad is lovely. There are substitutes for high energy foods, and those substitutes can be just as delicious. So that's what I plan to do. And then
I've never believed in weighing myself, but I think from now on, every day I'm going to weigh myself, and if I weigh more than 99, I'm going to go on a slight lower carbohydrate diet. I love carbohydrates. I think they're the greatest thing that God ever made. Maybe, I'm sure there are better things, but I really do like carbs. My favorite food, especially like bread, potatoes, pasta. Yeah. So we just have to substitute them with vegetables, and vegetables can be so delicious. Like you saw that cabbage salad, and those carrots were lovely. This is going to be delicious. That tomato with an egg on top, poached egg, that was pretty nice. Just lacked a bit of salt. And you can make a stew. A stew can be you can leave out the potatoes, for example, and make a carrot cabbage meat stew. That's maybe what I will do. And that is also so delicious to feed on those things. And then you'll stay in ketosis, and the body will just keep on eating that fat. So, as I say, I'm not trying to shame or make anybody feel that they need to go on this diet. If you're happy with yourself, just by all means, just continue being happy. Don't let feelings of inadequacy or guilt. I think many people have tried many diets and they just find they fail. I just go on this ketogenic diet every now and then for a few days, and it really works well for the first few days because the body's just hit with a shock and it just throws off weight. But then after about a week or two, the body gets used to no carbohydrates, and then you find you're not losing. I sometimes can lose up to 1 kilogram a day. And then the body stops losing weight. So I think one should just do it for a few days. So how hard is it to make a life change just for a few days? And then go on a maintenance thing. Just maintain it with less high calorie foods. So now this is the last thing that I'm going to eat today, is this cream of mushroom soup. It also had a little bit of cheese. Cheese is fine. It's got no carbohydrates. Doesn't affect ketosis. I've got a bit of tea. Now my tea, I normally per cup put in a teaspoon and a half. Today I've only been putting in half a teaspoon. So probably the whole day long, I've probably had about 8 teaspoons of sugar the whole day. So that you need more than that to stay, you can go into ketosis with just a few teaspoons and a little bit of flour every day. So you don't have to cut out carbohydrates completely, but you do want to cut them out as much as possible. You want to stay sort of in ketosis. And ketosis is the state where the body is changed from burning the glucose, which you get from carbohydrates, and it's turned to burning fats. Well, I think that soup looks just about done. So I'm going to turn that off and try it. It looks quite hot. It looks very pleasant. We added salt and pepper. We got the mushrooms. This is a lovely white sauce. That is so tasty, that saltiness. You can often substitute saltiness for sweet. This is just the highlight of my day as far as food is concerned. I just love this cream of mushroom soup. I was living for a while on cream of mushroom soup, just like this, in the evening, and every day I've given up Greek salads with tomatoes, onions, lettuce, cucumber, and so on. I'm planning on having maybe a Greek salad tomorrow, but I've basically given them up and gone for much more tasty and pleasant fruit salads. So a fruit salad a day, cream of mushroom soup a day. What else can one have? A couple of eggs a day. Definitely like an omelette in the morning. That's with your cheese and eggs. And you'll stay on the border of ketosis. You won't be in ketosis, you'll still have energy and so on, but you'll be close to it and the body will still be burning some fat. I could live on this cream of mushroom soup as a wonderful alternative to carbohydrates. And how many calories do mushrooms have? So, you know, at home and in your youth, you pick up so many hang-ups. People, your friends, your peers, your parents, your teachers, just by maybe trying something and failing at it, you pick up so many negative perceptions of yourself. And you start to feel guilty and inadequate, and you feel, I'm pretty useless at this, and look how good other people are at that. Friends, it's such a wasted emotion to feel guilty and inadequate. Leads to depression, suicide. I literally have made it my life's work to cut out of my life those three emotions: guilt, inadequacy, and worry. Another very bad emotion is fear. Now you see, I go stealth camping here in the middle of the boondocks. I'm not feeling fear. I'm going to sleep next to that log under this oak tree tonight. I'm not going to worry about, you see, fear is also like one of those terrible emotions. And now these horror movies, paranormal movies, every movie that wants to foster this idea of being afraid. I just don't watch those movies. I've no time for that emotion of fear. So all you're going to do is feed your fear imagination if you're going to watch those terrible movies. I don't. And especially fear is such a, if you look in the Bible, it's such a commanded against emotion. The statement fear not is said about 60 times, I think, in the Bible. Those two words, fear not. When Jesus walks on the water, the disciples are terrified. He says, fear not. When Mary's at the tomb and an angel appears, the angel says, fear not. When Joshua has to take the promised land after Moses' death, God says, fear not. So many times in the Bible, God says, fear not. So not like it said once. It said throughout the Bible, fear not, fear not, fear not. Now imagine you're going to these horror movies for the pure thing of fearing. Maybe even a roller coaster could set you into fear. I don't particularly like bungee jumping or roller coasters or things that make me fear. I mean, to be honest, my biggest fear was a fear of heights. So what did I do? I took up paragliding. I got 110 flights. I've sat hundreds of meters up in the sky above the ground with nothing but two carabiners holding me up in the sky. And I've taken off from the edges of some really dodgy cliffs. And I must say, I've never felt fear. Now, I still have a fear of heights. If you put me on a tall building and I've got to look down, it's terrifying. But, and I'm not saying face your fears. I'm just saying, and paragliding was the experience that I just think is the most lovely experience I've ever had in my life. I just loved paragliding. And yeah, if I hadn't conquered that slight fear, I must say I had just such a confidence in my equipment and confidence in God that between the two I'd be safe, that I was never fearful. If the instructor wanted someone to try out a site, I was always the first one off the cliff face to try it out. I was the crash test dummy. I remember one time at Roykran's near Wilderness, I took off and disappeared into the clouds from the steep drop-off cliff. And this was the first time I was trying out this paraglider. I think the instructor was nearly beside himself with worry because I just disappeared into the clouds. But I knew what I was kind of doing. And then I made it down to the beach after a long flight. And other times, so I was the first off the cliff, and he was watching what I was doing, and he was a bit horrified. Other times, like at Portable, I took off first and just sank down to the bottom. So then you sit at the bottom of the cliff, and the instructor sees. So sometimes it paid off, sometimes it didn't. But that's beside the point. The point was I always trusted my equipment that while I had my paraglider on, I wasn't going to crash out. And frankly, every single landing, I've never had a hard landing in a paraglider. Those things are just built to fly. I've had many narrow squeaks, many. So it really is a dangerous sport. And after 100 flights, I was finding that the risk-reward ratio was dropping off. In other words, the risk wasn't dropping. I wasn't getting that much more experience. But I was almost becoming blasé to the feeling of flying. And that's why I gave up paragliding. In fact, I flew into a cliff, hurt my ankle, and couldn't walk for 2 years properly. In fact, it was probably more like 4 or 5 years. So that's why I gave up paragliding. Was that just too delicious? And now we're going to have our not so sweet tea. In this whole flask, we got 1 teaspoon of sugar. So it's amazing. I would say probably I've had about 5 or 6 cups of tea today, tea, coffee, perhaps more. I'd say that's probably the one thing that I would call the hardest thing to get used to is less sugar in your tea. But I'm quite used to it. This cup of tea is pleasant. I'm enjoying it. It's not as nice as if it was very sugary, but it's really not bad. So, and just having a little bit of sugar makes it pleasant and won't prevent me from going into ketosis. So it's amazing that you get so used to your tea being unsweetened. So I think this is going to be lovely. Another wonderful thing about combining stealth camping with dieting, I'm far from the fridge. If I wanted to eat something, I can't tonight. I didn't bring anything else with, just my tea. So I think if you had a stealth camping camp for people who wanted to go on diet and you just had healthy food, what could the people do? They'd have to tough it out. So there's going to be no temptation till I weigh myself tomorrow morning and see how much weight I've lost. So I thought this night might be a bit of a dead loss for spotting satellites. But the sky, it's a bit cloudy, a bit fuzzy, but it may be clear enough to see the stars. Here we are. There's our bed. I managed to see 9 satellites and 1 shooting star. The sky has been clear, wonderful. I thought it might rain even tonight. I'm going to just switch this light off and see if you can see the moon rising in the distance there. There's the moon just peering above the horizon. So we're probably not going to see too many more satellites because it will brighten the sky too much. So, and as you saw, there's the moon rising in the distance. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be just a lovely night. Absolutely gorgeous. The Milky Way is above us, the Orion, Taurus. So we'll just say good night then. Good night.